Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be going over a lightning DEX build that absolutely destroys the base game, and I have no doubt that it's absolutely going to destroy the DLC as well, which at the time of recording this video, it is 3 days away. Holy I don't think my body's ready. Lightning is going to be one of the weirdest elements inside of Elden Ring, especially the way that it actually scales up in damage. But when you set it up correctly, it can really make light work of just about any boss inside of the game. Just remember, melee lightning scales off dexterity, and lightning incantations scale off faith. We are going to be utilizing faith and dex in this build just to give us a lot more diversity with what weapons we can use, but you can definitely get away with just using purely dex if you're not worried about using any of the incantations. So what makes this build so enjoyable to use? Well, for starters, we have some really solid damage. I think that's a given with any build you do in any game, let alone Elden Ring, that you're going to want damage to take down the bosses, and this build's got loads of it. We have more diversity in this build than a Sweet Baby Ink production. Since lightning weapons only scale off dex, you have a lot of variety with what weapons you want to choose to fit your playstyle. I suppose I'll throw another point on top of that one. We do also have really good range with our lightning incantations and also some Ashes of War, which just make taking a lot of difficult enemies down at distance an absolute cakewalk. And overall, I've actually had a lot of fun testing and playing around with lightning. I've never really done it before in Elden Ring. I'm bloody surprised I haven't tried it sooner. Now, small disclaimer, I probably look like arse and sound like arse. It's because I am sick. I'm currently getting over COVID. Yay for me. So apologies if I seem like I'm a little out of it in this video. It's probably because I am. I will be showing stats from level 150 to level 200, since that's pretty much what I think most people are going to go through the DLC in. It's also worthy to note that the buffs that we are using for this build are going to be Golden Vow, Howl of Shabriri, and if you don't want to use Howl of Shabriri, you do have Flame Grant Me Strength. Just remember that you can only have one body buff on at a time. So Flame Grant Me Strength is the body buff, so is Howl of Shabriri, so they will cancel each other out. I don't think you can have them on at the same time. We do also have the Gravelstone Seal. I'm pretty much going to be using this seal with every single one of our builds. This does increase our Dragon Cult Incantations, which is lightning. And for the tiers we are using in our Wondrous Physic, we are going to be using the Lightning Shrouded Crack tier and also the Stone Barbed Crack tier, which is going to help us deal more poise damage to enemies. Now, enough of the intro mumbo jumbo, let's jump into what weapons and setups we are using with this build. Now, the first setup I want to talk about is with the Bolt of Gransax and also the Cross Nagi Nata. I think I'm saying that correctly, probably not. Why do I enjoy using this setup so much? Well, the spears, for one, have amazing reach. The spears' power stance are really strong. The power stancing spear attacks are just as quick as the regular spear attacks when you're two-handing it, but now you get an extra hit, which means more damage. The run attack especially has some ridiculous reach. It reminds me of the curved sword run attack, where you get like a few extra steps and you do some slashes. This is the same. You kind of take a few extra steps and then you poke with the spears, which are already naturally long, and now you're just sending them even further. So the run attack with spears power stance is super strong. I love always opening with that move. The main reason we're using this setup is because of the Bolt of Gransax and its ridiculous Ash of War. If you have not used this weapon yet, I highly recommend you need to try at least the Bolt of Gransax. The Ash of War is just borderline broken. It has so much range. It hits like an absolute truck if you start building into it. It's just so good, and there's really no downside to the Ash of War or the weapon overall. Even though the Naginata does have bleed on it, you're not really getting the full effect out of bleed in this particular setup. The main reason we're using this setup is because the power stancing moves really quick. The Bolt of Gransax has a fantastic Ash of War with amazing range, but overall it is a very fun setup. The only cons I can give to this build is the jump attack is kind of rubbish. The jump attack is a little doo-doo because you kind of just jump and, you know, thrust the spears twice in the air. This is really good for flying enemies. You're going to catch flying enemies completely off guard with this move. They won't see this one coming. But if you are looking for overhead slams or overhead smashes when you are jump attacking, unfortunately this probably isn't going to be the setup for you. And then for the amulets we are running the Rotten Winged Insignia, the Lightning Scorpion Charm, the Shard of Alexander, and also the Urge Tree Favor +1. If you have +2, put this on. For some weird reason I'm an idiot and haven't got it from Ashen Capital yet. Need to do that. If you do want to know the location of the weapons, the Naginata can be found in the Gale Tunnel, and then the Bolt of Gransax can be found on the big Bolt of Gransax in Lindell. It's kind of like right here. You can come from the Erdtree Sanctuary, go down the elevator, jump off the wall, and you will land on Bolt of Gransax to then find the little Bolt of Gransax for you to use. Alright, next setup we are going to be going over is the Dragon King's Cragblade. Now the Dragon King's Cragblade is a very fun weapon to use inside of Elden Ring. It mainly comes down to the Ash of War. It is just really cool becoming a lightning cloud and just crashing down on the enemies and sending destruction their way. Now again, the stats for pretty much all of these builds are going to be the same from 150 to 200, so I will just pop them up on screen for you again, just so you can see them and follow along without having to go back to the start of the video to see what the stats were. So the main reason I like this setup is we have a really strong charge attack. We have a really good Ash of War. We do get a little bit of iframe with the Ash of War because we float up in the air before we slam back down again. I wouldn't prioritize using the Ash of War to dodge attacks, but it's nice that you can actually dodge attacks with the Ash of War. And overall, it's just a really solid weapon in a really solid setup that doesn't really come with any cons. I can't think of any cons that comes with the Cragblade. It's just ticks just about every box. And if you do want to get the Cragblade for yourself, you're going to have to go and kill Placidusax over in Farum Azula, the secret dragon boss there. When you do kill him, you will get the remembrance. You take it back to the Fingerina Crone, and boom, you've got yourself your Cragblade. Now the talisman setup is pretty much identical to the last setup I just showed you. We got the Rotten Winged Insignia, we have the Lightning Scorpion Charm, the Shard of Alexander, and also the Erdtree Favor. If you don't want to be taking 10% extra damage because of this amulet, the Lightning Amulet, now I feel like a better option is probably going to be the Axe Talisman. Now the reason we want to use the Axe Talisman is because the Cragblade has a really good charge attack. It has decent range, it feels like it has really good poise damage, and it just does pretty decent damage in general, and this gets buffed with the Axe Talisman. Just remember, anything that you use a charge R2 with is going to get buffed by that Axe Talisman. Now for the third setup, and arguably one of my favorite setups for this build, it is the Scavenger's Curved Sword. Now the Scavenger Curved Sword by itself is a meaty weapon, but when you power stance it, boy does it get even better. Again, I'm going to throw the stats up on screen for 150 and 200, and just remember these are references. Feel free to move points wherever you want to. If you want to use more incantations, take some out of DEX and put some more into Faith. These stats are more reference point than they are like set in stone, so feel free to switch and change them however you want. Now the main reason I really enjoy using this build is because of the jump attack. Power stance jump attacks with the Curved Sword are insane, and they get even stronger with the Scavenger's Curved Sword because they have bleed available. We have access to bleed now. And now we can finally take advantage of the lightning / Ash of War, which I have put on both of these Curved Swords. So we can put lightning element on both these weapons, which will give them more bonus damage because we have so many points in DEX. Ideally, you could put both these weapons into keen scaling just to edge out a little bit more in damage, but the next two setups that I am going to show you, I am using the keen scaling, so I didn't just want to use keen scaling for like the last three setups, so that is why I have chosen to go with the Lightning Ash of War, just to show you guys something different, show some other stuff you can use to make a Lightning Dex build work. But it goes without saying, the Lightning Ornament, the incantation you actually need to use to apply lightning on your weapon, does scale with Faith, and it is definitely much stronger than the Lightning Ash of War, but we'll get into that in a minute. Now we are using the White Mask helmet and also the Raptor's armor. This is going to give us more attack power when we're doing a jump attack, and then the White Mask is also going to give us more attack power when bleed is in the vicinity. We're still running the Rot Winged Insignia because it's arguably one of the strongest talismans in the game. I've got the Claw Talisman because we are trying to prioritize jump attacks. Got the Lightning Scorpion Charm and still the Erdtree's Favor. Again, if you don't want to take an extra 10% damage, by all means put Millicent's Prosthesis on because we are attacking really quickly and we're hitting very often. We are building up this attack power bonuses very quickly. In fact, I think the Millicent Prosthesis is probably better in the long run for this build, but feel free to use a Lightning Scorpion Charm and Millicent Prosthesis to see what worked well for you. And then for anyone that doesn't know, the Scavenger Curved Sword I think is around about here or here in Mount Gelmir. Is right before the big grafted Scion drops down with the ladder. And now moving on over to the fourth setup and another equal favorite of mine, and it is using the Flamberge Flamberge Greatsword. Now the Flamberge is an absolute powerhouse of a weapon. Just like the Scavenger Curve Sword, we're going to have bleed available at our disposal, but the one up that it does have from the Scavenger Curve Sword is that it comes with more poise damage. You are going to have a much higher chance at staggering and knocking down enemies, which means that you can take down certain bosses and certain enemies much more comfortably when they're on the ground, and you can do free damage to them with a fatal blow. Again, for this particular setup, I am power stancing the Flamberge. You don't have to. It's strong enough when you're two-handing, but I do like power stancing. I like the jump attack with the Flamberge, and that's what we're going to be trying to prioritize to get the most amount out of our damage. So you're telling me this weapon has stagger, bleed, and good damage? What more could you possibly want? And that is why I think the Flamberge is an absolute powerhouse of a weapon. You can set this up in multiple different ways and it still performs exactly the same. It's such a strong weapon. My right hand Flamberge is keen scaling, so we can put the lightning ornament on it with the incantation. Now the second Flamberge in the left hand is actually lightning affinity, and I have put Thunderbolt Ash of War on that Flamberge. This just gives us a little extra range. We can peg things off at distance without having to go in and get our hands dirty. We're not prioritizing using this all the time, but it is nice to have a bit of range to take down really annoying enemies in the distance. Just like the Scavenger Curve Sword setup, we are using the White Mask to give us more damage when we bleed enemies. The Flamberge does have bleed available, and then also the Raptor's Armor to give us more attack power when we use jump attack. Still using the Rotten Winged Insignia. We've got Claw Talisman because we're doing jump attack. I've gone with the Ritual Sword Talisman, just give us 10% increase to attack power while HP is full. If you're not comfortable, you're not someone that can keep their HP full, just use the Lightning Scorpion Charm or even Millicent's Prosthesis, just anything that's going to give you more attack power. And we still got the Erdtree's Favor. This Erdtree's Favor isn't changing at all, so I'm just going to stop saying it. You can see that it's there. And the best thing about the Flamberge is that you can pretty much get it straight away if you come down to the Isolated Merchant Shack in Weeping Peninsula. That little merchant, great guy, he's going to be selling you the Flamberge sword, which I suppose is just like the Scavenger's Curve Sword. It does come with the con that you will not be able to power stance this weapon until you're in New Game Plus. Alright, now for the last setup that I am going to be going over is the Raptor Talons. Now the Raptor Talons are a pretty powerhouse weapon as well. They're super agile, you can move around really quick with them, they attack quick, and of course the cherry on top is, yes, they come with bleed. I know the last 3 setups have had bleed in it, but it's just because bleed's so strong. What do you want me to do? I didn't put it in the game, blame FromSoft, okay? And it goes without saying that you actually don't need 2 Raptor Talons to power stance this weapon. It comes as a nice little combo package for you. What makes this particular setup so good? Well, for starters, if you are using Bloodhound's Fang on the claw weapons, you're just so agile. You're zipping around the move. It makes it a hell of a lot easier to dodge attack. It's got a really good moveset. If you've ever had a cat scratch you, you know exactly what the enemies are in for. The charge R2 is actually really good for closing distance, and it does pretty decent poise damage. I couldn't believe how many like enemies staggered I could get with the Raptor Talons. It kind of nuts. And again, similar to the Flamberge, we have kept it keen scaling so we can apply the electric ornament, which is then going to give the Talons even more damage because then both of those weapons are now scaling from Faith and Dex. So yeah, the Raptor Talons kind of go in. The only cons I can give the Raptor Talons is if you're someone that doesn't like playing close up and personal, like sniffing the enemy, get to know where they live with their postcode, all that good jazz, then this probably isn't going to be the setup for you. Now with this particular setup, I've gone with keen scaling again with the Raptor Talons, just like the Flamberge. The main reason for this is so we can have our Bloodhound Step, Ash of War, and then so we can also apply Lightning Ornament to our Raptor Talon. Now remember what I said about the Raptor Talons, you don't need 2 Raptor Talons to be able to power stance it. So you applying Lightning Ornament to your right hand will also apply it to left hand, which is really, really strong. Still going to White Mask for more attack power while bleeds around. I haven't got the Raptor Armor. You can put that on if you want to jump attack. I don't try and prioritize jumping attack too much. With the Raptor Talon, we're pretty quick when we're grounded, so I kind of like to keep it that way. Especially because we're using Bloodhound Step, it's, you know, better if we are on the ground more than we are in the air. Still running the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia. I've gone Axe Talisman. I really, really like the charge attack with the Raptor Talons. I think it's really, really strong. Got Millicent's Prosthesis because the Raptor Talons attack so quick. You can really get the attack power bonus from the Millicent's Prosthesis. and the Rotten Winged Insignia very fast. And again, we have the Erd Tree's Favor. I said it again. There you go. If you are looking to get the Raptor Talons for yourself, all you need to do is head over to the Sage's Cave, which is located in the Altus Plateau. And that is basically it's this video. Hopefully this build video did help you guys out. Are you going to be taking Lightning into the DLC? What build are you going to be taking into DLC? Let me know in the comment section down below. I was going to do more of an outro, but my throat literally can't handle anymore, so appreciate all love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe, peace out.